What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Bless. I'm here with my co-host Let Me Know. This is the Moment of Truth podcast, and this week we got a very special guest, a Montreal legend, an OG in the game, a close friend of mine, Platinumburg's own, Montreal's own. Sometimes we're close friends. DJ Kwite Sane, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming, my brother.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming. So we're jumping off like this, Montreal. This is the first official episode, the Moment of Truth.
Sir. Yes, sir.
What we do here is serve up the facts, no bullshit, and we kind of are trying to shed a light on Canadian hip hop, on Montreal as a whole.
Bless, if I can jump in for a sec. Hip hop in general, right?
Hip hop in general.
We're talking hip hop in general. It just so happens that we got two veterans in the hot seats, we'll call it tonight.
The hot seat.
And both these guys they've traveled the world and back. Montreal natives, but at the same time, these are not your local $25 an hour studio kind of guys. These are big players in the game, right? Yeah, I mean. Today's goal is obviously to talk about Montreal because you guys just know so much about it. But at the same time, like, if you guys want to just share some stories about the road and stuff, I want to hear them personally, and I'm sure everyone else wants to hear them too. So I know Montreal started when Biggie didn't show up, right? That's pretty much where the Montreal rap scene started. Yeah. So I'll let you guys take it from there.
Where it started for you.
Where it started for me. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't.
Well, I think the best person to answer that, early in the scene, when the scene was developing, when hip hop was first blowing up commercially, would be my guest right here. Speak on it. How did you get in? Let's hear about you.
When did it start?
Well, back in the days, there was these block parties we used to have. Used to be behind Marymount. That used to be up by Côte St. Luc, and I'd ride my bike to the jams, the park jams, and had his DJ playing LDG, and. I never saw the DJ because we were in the back.
Zane, what year are we talking?
Gotta be talking 88, 89. Yeah, about that.
88, 89 was the beginning of a scene emerging in Montreal.
Well, hip hop, the party scene. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
And I caught that DJ bug just seeing how he controlled the crowd. Yeah. The crowd's reactions, and I still never saw the DJ, but I knew what he was doing. I could hear what he was doing. Yeah. And at that time, they used to DJ inside the truck. They used to have these big U-Haul trucks.
Wow.
They'll carry the sound and everything.
A real sound clash, like a real like.
No, not really, because you would DJ inside the truck.
That's crazy.
But I never knew why.
That's dope. We should bring
until
that
a gunshot went off.
Wow.
And they just closed the door.
And protect all the equipment and drive off.
Everybody, fuck, sucks for you guys. And then
the speakers were out of the truck as well.
Yeah. Everything was outside.
That is so dope. So it was almost like a food truck of sound.
Yeah.
That is sick. Dope. We should bring that back.
That's something we should definitely bring back. That's something you got to think about.
Now we got the sound ordinance and everything. It's like, that's hard.
People haven't seen that in what, like 20 years?
Yeah,
right.
Well, longer than that.
So I've never seen it personally. I like the food truck idea.
At least 30 years. I mean, like now you have these mini festivals, like the Mural Festival now. Yeah, I'm saying it wrong, like in hip hop.
But I love the concept of the DJ being in the truck that doesn't even unpack shit. It's a mobile party.
Yeah, it's dope.
Mobile party.
Dope.
Really dope.
Really dope.
After the park. They bring you inside, or you're staying outside for a little while longer?
No, he's a kid at the time. He rode his bike.
You're a kid. So
I had to ride back home. Like
when do you actually touch the turntables? When does this?
Oh, this is years later.
I don't want to fast forward too much. Give us a little more if you can.
Maybe like when I actually touched the turntables, I have to go to my friend's house, Anthony Marshall. It was DJ Reality at the time, and that's the only time I got a chance to like touch them and practice. You know what I'm saying? Until I stole my first pair of turntables.
Everybody did. Every authentic DJ in hip hop from the
1200s,
from the true school jacked a pair of 1200s, and that's how they got started. Whether it was a promoter that owed money, whether it was literally fresh off the truck, whether it was a house party from a club, whatever. I've heard this story from every serious DJ I know.
We got it from a club. This is a club that had multiple floors, so they had the restaurant at the bottom, and the club was on the top. So we sneak in because they left the doors open. We figured that out. We figured that out like a couple times. Like, yo, nobody's ever here. Okay, we're coming back. So we run up the stairs. We start unplugging shit, unplugging turntables, mixer.
It's amazing.
Like, do not turn off, do not touch the fucking radio because the music's playing for the restaurant downstairs.
Right. You don't want to set off any alerts, any type of
One idiot, music stop. Fuck! Let's get out of here. Let's go. In the middle of winter too, so we're gone, man. 2 turntables on the arm.
Because back then, a pair of 1200s and a mixer costed what? $5,000, $4,000?
Nah, not that much. Like each
turntable
was like at least 600. Same thing, the same price now.
12. So 2 G's but 2 G's back then
depending
was
on
like
the mix, depending on the mix,
$10,000
like,
now.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine having enough money to buy that back then. Like to scale, you know what I'm saying? You were like, man,
I remember
be able to
seeing
save that
back in the day there was like the MPCs in the back of the source.
Right.
They were like 200, 300 for like when the blue one came out, whatever.
No, the MPC 2000 was like $3,600.
Right, but then they came out with the smaller one.
It was a smaller one.
Oh, okay, like a little mini, a little.
Right?
Yeah,
it was like a G-Note or something. I'm like, maybe I get into this. It never happened. I just like admired it from afar. But
Yo, I had
affordable.
I had asked my folks, right? I was getting into trouble. I was going to a public school, right? I was getting into trouble. I wasn't really going to school. I had like a 30% average. Kids stay in school. Don't follow me.
That's a great average.
At all.
At all. If you're playing ball, that's a great average.
That's just for attendance.
So my folks were like, listen, we want to put
you just write your name at the top of the test and you get 10 points.
I think no, a 30% grade average. That's my overall average. That's even worse than what you're laughing at me for.
Like that's
counting. You spelled your name wrong?
That's counting.
Probably.
That's counting gym class. That's counting like civics.
Yeah.
That's counting
for gym class.
But the one award I did win in my high school career was the most absent. Okay. I had the most absences in my whole school, and there was like 1,800 kids in that school. So that was a hell of an accomplishment.
That wasn't hard to figure out.
That was a hell of an
grade average.
A hell of an accomplishment.
Can't be there.
So my folks said, "Listen, you're on the wrong path, and we want to put you in private school, and you'll thank us one day." And I said, "Fuck no, I'm not going to private school. I'm not going to relate with any of those kids, and I'd rather die." So then I said, being the businessman. So no, because like all my friends were in public school. Yeah. You know how it was to go to private school. It was like, back then it was different, right? So I was like, all right. I'm a businessman. And I said, what I wanted most in the world. Business kid. Well, now I'm a businessman. So I was always open to negotiation. So I was, so I said to my folks, okay, I tell you what, I will voluntarily go to the school of your choice and I will clean up my act and get a passable grade average. But what I want more than anything in the world is the MPC 2000. I want to learn to make beats, right? And this is when like Mobb Deep, was like the hottest shit on planet Earth. I wanted to make those.
So he finagled his way out of going to private school.
Hold up, no, not even though.
You held your parents hostage.
My parents were smart. My parents were smart, but they couldn't afford even to send me to that school. You know what I'm saying? Right. So they're like, oh, already, like it's a stretch to send you. You know what I mean? So my pops was smart. He said, you know what? He said, if you last a whole year at that school and you get a passing average, shit, I'll buy you that fucking MPC, my G. I lasted 3 weeks at the school. My pops had a good laugh. He said, well, just so you know, I wasn't really going to buy it for you anyways. I said, no problem. Send me back to public school. I was back within 1 month. True story.
Of course.
And then I was like, yo, it was like, when you come back to jail, you're like, oh, Flacco, what's up? I was like back in my element, I came back in class like, poof. I just sat down like, oh, but he's back. You know what I mean? Like, where were you? I'm like, don't worry about it. I had to go out and then I came back in. So basically, my parents are fools because I would probably be like an accomplished producer by now, making that sweet publishing money.
Fair. Right.
But, and I just got screwed out of my dream, bro.
At the same time, you did earn like one knob on the MPC. You never.
I earned nothing, and I got nothing. I got thrown out of that school in 3 weeks, bro. Damn. I knew I wasn't gonna gel. This wasn't gonna work for me.
3 weeks.
Back to Montreal hip hop. Great story, by the way. I really enjoyed that one. I had a good laugh.
Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about. How did we get there?
The MPC 2000.
Right.
I'm traumatized. Anytime I hear the MPC, I'm like,
stay focused.
Yes. Private school, like fuck that shit, right?
Fuck that shit. Not even worth an MPC in 97, 96.
We were talking about you running up in the club. Don't turn the radio off.
So Sane runs in the club.
So I got my turntables.
He scores his first turntables.
I got my turntables.
You start.
So I start
honing your
DJing.
skills.
Yeah, start honing my skills.
Who at the time when you start DJing was hot as DJs and as local artists?
Fuck yeah, great question.
Who was relevant even? Like, let's talk about.
Okay, I'll say. Well, this is the beginning of. This is the beginning of hip hop. This is before I even got the turntables. So who was relevant there in the rap scene?
When you start DJing, just start trying to get nice in the basement at the crib.
89, 90.
Who's popping? Who's performing? Shades
Chuck
of Culture?
Ice.
Chuck Ice. Shout out Chuck Ice. That's the homie.
Chuck Ice. Well, this is before, I think, at the same time, Shades of Culture is coming up.
Chuck Ice is already there.
Yeah, so Chuck Ice, Wavy One, DJ Ray.
Was Flight hosting parties
Those
yet?
are like the rock hymns.
Was Flight hosting parties yet?
Yeah. Flight was it was always Flight.
Yeah.
It was Flight, LDG, DJ Tough.
Ricky D and Shahid aren't doing parties yet.
Ricky D.
Ricky D's around.
Ricky D came like
anything at this point?
Gary T.
Yeah, Ricky D and Gary were doing parties. Gary T
my former manager, my original manager was Gary T.
Oh yeah?
When I was a kid. Before I met any of you guys.
Damn.
It was Gary T.
Actually, Ricky wasn't promoting really yet. He was more of a flyer boy, and then he got into promotion, and they were doing a lot of fun for Fitz and Fabian.
I remember them.
Fitz and Fabian, and so back to Montreal scenes after DJ Ray, Chuck Ice, Shades of Culture. We had
pretty proud of myself.
I Spy,
DJ
Shades of Culture. I know
MCJ and Cool G. Remember them?
But then I really
there was a commercial.
There was Scotian.
But they were here. I don't know if they were the label.
Gotcha. To do something.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to remember the song they had.
Oh, shit was so funny, bro. MCJ and Cool G was like a knockoff of who?
I don't know, man.
I don't know. It was like some really commercial.
But at the time, it was high tops and polka dots. You know what I'm saying?
Kwame
so,
shit.
Like it is now, where like dudes were opening up for like the bigger names and like that was the same vibe that it was.
I'm trying to think what the concerts were.
Right? Did it formulate, or were there local shows that like maybe smaller bars that you guys were like hosting your own?
Well, from what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, there was talent shows, which was a big thing. So like La Voix, Shad Academy, all the high schools would host talent shows in auditoriums, and the whole hood would come out, and that's where I got my start.
They don't do that
as
no
a dancer.
Not in this city.
Bro, dumb shows were dangerous though. The cops would rush those shows. The shit was crazy, crazy, bro.
Half those schools don't even have the same name anymore.
Definitely not looking for me. Even I was petrified at 7 years old. You know, like these were talent shows
known
where
the cops.
known future troublemaker. These were talent shows that were like, you know, Shades of Culture would be there, Chuck Ice would be there, Flight would host them, guys like Sane would rock, and I was a little kid. I was like breakdancing and shit.
Dubmatique.
That was early, yeah.
Dubmatique was one of the OG pioneers, right?
Dubmatique used to do talent shows in the auditorium of my school.
Dice B. What's the name of the
Dice
group?
B and Arcade had a group, right?
What was the group called?
Dice B and Arcade had a group.
Oh, I can't remember.
Was it Dice B and Arcade?
No, not Arcade. Arcade was separate.
Dice B and another dude, right?
Yeah, it looked like
definitely people watching this that are just like they're hearing names they haven't heard in a
long time.
Keep these names rolling, guys. This is fucking great.
But Dice B still has a radio show, so he's still within the scene. Within the French scene.
Yeah.
Are we at Sans Pression yet or not yet?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Which fest?
Sans Pression.
Sans Pression. We're not.
No. They're a little bit later.
SP comes with Ray later, kind of just before we're recording.
But actually, Sans Pression was a group before.
Yeah.
Because he was around the same time too. Yeah. They're around the same time.
I think they came a few years after. We're talking about early 90s. They're like mid 90s, late 90s.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We're talking about early 90s still. Yeah, so you're getting in the scene. Are you playing on CKUT yet on Masters at Work? No. Are you doing
Dawson socials?
There you go. So let's
house parties, Dawson socials.
So Dawson was having a lot of parties. Right. Dawson was a major hub back then, and also Champlain College. I know used to have crazy
Dawson, Champlain, and Vanier.
So it was kind of
we had all the day parties,
college parties,
and
it was a lot of talent.
We call socials.
Yeah,
and,
it was a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Dancers, DJs, rappers.
Enoch.
Yup. E-Nice was his name.
Yeah, E-Nice back
For
there.
everybody
Yeah,
doesn't know, shout out my boy
Raw
Enoch.
Now he's Raw Enoch.
Why Enoch? That's
I
the
saw him
homie.
recently. He was getting his weed license in the West Island.
Oh yeah, See,
he's a great guy. He's always been a supporter of our movement.
He's been around for a long
So,
fucking time.
he's the ultimate. He's the ultimate
generations
Queens guy from Montreal.
Yeah, he was always going back and forth to Queens, and actually an interesting tie-in with Enoch. So he used to go by E-Nice, I believe.
At the time, yeah.
At the time. And he was rolling with my good friend Frank Boulevard, who pre-Ray Ray was my original producer. This pre-Platinumberg.
Right. Wow.
So Frank Boulevard and Enoch used to go back and forth to New York. And as a little like 14-year-old kid, I was hearing all these stories, and I used to go to my homie's crib in the South Shore, and he had like a crazy like 20,000 record collection. Like he had like a library in his basement.
Yeah.
So as a kid, just to be able to go through that, it was like crazy. And then he had shoe boxes and shoe boxes of the MPC diskettes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he would just play me dirty ass loops, and I would just rhyme on him sitting on his bed. And that's how we did some of my first demos that originally got me noticed in New York. Then I came back and kind of re-linked up with Ray Ray and started making the first demos for what would become Platinum.
Talk about Platinumberg, guys. Give us like the story of how you guys linked up, right?
So I mean, I grew up personally, from my perspective, as a young cat, just trying to get a name. You know what I mean? Like doing open mics and going to house parties and all. Basically, I had a very similar start to him. Instead of the park jams, it was really like the talent shows at Lavoie and Shad and that whole scene. I met Gary T when Taboo Disc first opened.
Oh man!
And when they were in the basement where Aldo is now, you know what I mean, on St. Catherine. And you know, I was always really interested in hip hop, and me and Gary T got to talking, and he told my folks like, "Yo, I want to manage. You know what I mean? I want to manage your son."
And just to put it into perspective, there's no white people doing this right now, right? Like
very few.
At that time, like
it was few. There was always
a little bit
few.
ahead of his time. Like this is pre.
Well, at 8 years old, I think I was maybe a little.
Well, then it was like third base.
House of Pain.
Not even yet.
Look, young black teenagers.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're young black teenagers and they're white.
But
YBT.
But they were good.
They were great. I love that song to this day.
There wasn't. What I'm trying to say is there wasn't a lot. At
Locally,
the time,
I think he meant a lot of white MCs.
Oh, there was one with. Oh my God!
I'm not trying to make this a race thing. I'm putting it into perspective where like.
Raph.
Oh yeah. Overproof. My boy Raph from Overproof. There was always, but I mean, it was far and few between.
Right.
Because hip hop wasn't as commercialized as it was now. It was
remember
underground
being in high
movement.
school buying the album. Like I bought the album. I think I was leaving high school. Like when
You mean Platinumberg?
Yeah, when did it come out? 99.
No, Platinumberg came out 2003.
2003.
Yeah.
But I was
in
18.
CJEP.
Yeah, I was 18.
I was in CJEP when it came out. I remember buying it and being like, shit, like there's a white dude from Montreal that's like really rhyming with like people that like I know that are on tracks with him. And I'm like, I'm not like, I have no affiliation at this point. I'm going to Dawson. I'm smoking cigarettes and hash. And that's
so you bought it without even knowing who Bless was?
Didn't even know who the man was.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate.
I appreciate
that purchase that never went to me.
Really? I remember
none of that ever went.
I remember
to me.
seeing the inside booklet and they had the Tupac picture and I was like, holy fuck! Like, and then I heard stories which I ended up. It was one of the first times we hung out. I asked you, I'm like, do you have a relation to Donald K. Donald?
No.
Someone told me that this is Donald K. Donald's like grandson or something. Like,
I wish.
why, right?
I'd still be papered up to this day if so.
You would have got your MP3 then.
I would have had that MPC. I would have definitely had that MPC. But what a lot of people maybe didn't realize is pre-Platinumberg, there was like 10 years of work for me to get to that first project where I was comfortable enough to put myself out there and be like, this is the movement. Literally, that was the name of it.
One thing I've learned about you, it's that you don't move unless the ground's solid, and it's moved like with the proper finesse to conquer it. Like you're not playing unless you're gonna win.
I like to do my homework, and when I put my name to something, I like it to be timeless, and I like to know I can stand behind it and be proud of it. And you know, I feel that a lot about what we did together with the whole Platinumberg project. It's been 2003 till now. How many years is that?
15 years.
26 average.
And people still, there you go. And people still bring it up. And it's still something that's a respected body of work. And I'm so proud of that because that's the real only reason I really got into this. I wanted to make timeless shit. So thank you very much for supporting us early in before we even knew each other. But getting back, so I met Gary T Taboo Disc days and then the talent shows and then all of that stuff. So I saw a similar perspective. So coming up, I always heard his name as being one of the main top 3 guys that you would always...
we did a lot of parties then.
You would always hear either by listening to Masters at Work, you would hear a party.
Right.
You couldn't listen to a hip-hop radio show in Montreal and not on one of those commercials hear Kwite Sane's at a party.
Yeah.
So he was really dominating. And I would say a huge percentage of anybody major that would come to perform here, Kwite Sane was probably DJing.
It was either me or Red Dread or both of us.
Yeah.
We're doing all those
Back
shows.
to Biggie, right? You were supposed to DJ the Biggie one?
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, me and Red Dread became...
So sad now.
Exactly. I was too young to attend that show, but I remember hearing about it. I was like, oh, fuck. And the riot that ensued after. But I became good friends with Red Dread, who ended up introducing me to my first main producer who produced the whole Plattenberg album, Ray Ray. Shout out Ray Ray, who also, for all my French cats who remember, produced Sans Pression and a lot of other people in the French scene. Okay. And I just kind of felt like by the time me and him got to know each other, that it would just be a natural fit for him or Red Dread to be my DJ.
Right.
So we linked up
Snoop concert.
After a Snoop concert.
During
A Snoop concert.
It's an intermission.
Yeah, during a Snoop concert.
Was
it
Bless
the Bell
smoking?
Center there?
Was Bless smoking back then?
Bless never smoked.
Bless never
was
smoked.
not smoking.
Okay.
Just
Just
drinking.
like during a Snoop Dogg concert, like you definitely just...
No.
He would die.
I would. I'm crazy.
Second hand smoke, he'll die.
I was drinking. I was already drinking.
He was a
We linked
drinker.
up at the Snoop concert. And
Where
then,
was the Snoop show at the time? Was it
I
like...
think it was the Bell Center.
Yeah,
which was called the Molson Center.
Yeah, it
Snoop was Molson Center back then?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
okay.
Bell Center, yeah. And we linked up that night, and then we became great friends, and then ended up doing a lot of stuff together. But do you remember that night? We went to a strip club after, and I got thrown
Kama Sutra?
out
Kama Sutra?
by a dude who looked like Ron Jeremy
The Kama Sutra?
for calling the guy at the door dog.
Was that Kama Sutra?
No, it was at Teasers.
Teasers!
And Uncle Bubs was working security, but he wasn't
that's a
there.
great
Do
throwback
you remember
name.
that?
Yeah.
It was me, you, Tactics, my boy Adrian. There was a whole
Teasers.
bunch of other dudes. We're like 15 guys. We all walk up the road from the Bell Center.
It's where
Crescent.
what's there now?
Trois
It was
Brasseurs.
Burger King, and then it became
Trois
used to be a
Brasseurs.
club.
Yeah.
Yeah. It used to be a club. I forget the name of the club. And now it was and then it was Teasers, and then they just shut it down.
And we were going in the strip club because one of my brothers, he's like an uncle to me. Rest in peace, Rob, Uncle Bubs. And he was bouncing there at the time. So I would always go check him. So I'm like, yo, my homie works there. And I just took the whole crew. And when we got there, it was this old man at the door, this cheap old man. And he was like, it's like $3 per person. I'm like, dog, why you gotta bust my balls? I'm bringing you such a, and then like, he goes, call me a dog? And I'm like, nah, not literally. And I just get blindsided by a ponytail by a dude who looks like Ron Jeremy in a Joe Pesci jacket. And he like pins me on the wall. And then I just remember there was so many of us, and I'm like, and I'm a kid, right? I'm like 17 years old, And I'm like, you see what's happening right now? And he's like, you're out.
You don't need this.
That was crazy. You
And
had
then
to
he's
pay
like,
at the door.
and then
Then
he's
you had
like-
to tip the man that brought you to your
so
table.
I'm like, yo, stop busting my
that?
balls, dog. I'm bringing you a good crowd. We're going to spend
yeah.
money. Yo, the guy's like, you're out. I look down and I'm like, I think you're out. And he turns around. There's 15 guys around him. They yoke him up, drag him, and throw him outside. Bouncer comes running down. What's going on? He was a giant.
Oh, that's too
But
funny.
it was me. And then he goes, Bless, what happened? And then, okay, come in. It was a whole...
Still causing trouble.
You knew back then that you guys were gonna be great friends, right?
No, we didn't know.
Not based on that. He was like, oh, this guy's going to...
Or we have or share a cell together.
But Sane did end up giving me great advice and babysitting me many nights on tour, removing glasses from my hand and
Ready to fight.
calming me down. And all jokes aside,
I had to be the sane one
literally,
of the crew.
he was very sane and was a great friend and a great big brother to me, and always gave me great advice. So I really appreciated that. No emotional shit, but I really appreciated that because some people, especially right now, that are popping in the media, might not have some of the
Too many
great
yes men.
advice. exactly some good, they lack good advice from their big homies.
Yeah.
And Sane being older than me and being somebody I looked up to, I always respected his advice and his opinion. Thank God I took it, and I'm still here. So
At times. At times. Like, fuck that, nah, I'm doing it.
Well, when I was past a certain level, I'm like, yeah, son. Because then I had the influence from Guru when he'd bring out the L kid. When he'd bring out the L kid, he'd be like, nah, son, fuck
That's
that.
the devil on one side and the angel on the other.
So, there
rest
you
in
go.
peace, Guru.
Yeah,
right?
rest in peace, Guru. Talk on the man
peace,
for a minute. Just the legend. You were honored. I'm trying to use the right wording here. You were given the honor of being able to work with him, and I mean, you obviously earned your stripes because the man is. I mean, he's in my top 10 dead or alive, but I'd say most people like top 5 lyricists dead or alive. Like
he was in my top 5 before I met him.
Right.
Yeah.
Gangstar as a group was in my top 5 before I ever met Guru.
Give me a little bit, just on that. Like, for the people who don't know.
When I was in high school, it was Nas, Big, Gangstar, Tribe, and then Jay.
Diamond D,
Pooh Bah, of course. But I mean, just a big influence on me, I would have to say was Nas and Gangstar, like major in those like formative years. So way before I ever met Guru, it was always a dream of mine to be able to work with Preem or with both of them.
Right.
And I remember seeing him walking into Funkmaster Flex's birthday party when I was a kid, and it had to be maybe like 98 or 99, and I was starstruck just seeing him walk in, but we didn't get to talk. You know what I mean? And I didn't even get in the party. I was too young. And a couple of years later, I ended up meeting him through my manager at the time, who was friends with him, and we kind of just clicked, just like me and Sane. See, everything that happened when you would develop a relationship with another artist or whatever, it was very organic.
Yeah.
There was no
bullshit back then.
There was no bullshit.
Yeah,
there was no email. There was no nothing. So, I mean, you had to earn people's respect. You had to earn people's trust. They had to like your character. And if you vibed as humans, then it would organically turn into making music together. So I kind of became very good friends with Guru, and he signed me to his label, and the rest was history. Around the same time where I bump into this gentleman, and I was like, pretty much in my mind, it only made sense for him to be my DJ. I think I remember saying, I think this would be a great fit.
And I said, all right.
Yeah. Articulately like that. All right. And,
all right. Okay, we'll meet up after.
Yeah.
Snoop's going on now.
Yeah, I was like, yo, I don't know if you heard, but I'm fucking with Guru, and I'm working on this album. That's what he said. Yeah. And yo, I want you to be my DJ. You know
all right.
And that was it. And it was him DJing, and once in a blue moon, if he was sick or he couldn't make it, Red Dread would fill in. But he was.
Give me a little bit on Red Dread, because I'm not familiar. I mean, I know the face. I know you from face only, quite. But like, I tried to before we started the podcast. I'm like, and you're like, nah, I've seen too many people in my life. Like,
that's not what I said.
No, but I mean, you said like in the last 30 years, right?
But I've met so many people like.
I understood. I knew where you were going.
He meant in the scene, I'm sure, like just from around, like.
No, yeah. I'm like, if you don't give me like all you do is give me like one situation where you met me, like,
specific,
it'll come right back to me, like boom. But but Red Dread, well, now he has no dreads.
Okay.
So now he's redhead.
So he's redhead. But Red Dread was DJ. He came up at the same time as me. I don't think he started DJing at the same time as me.
I think it was
because I know him from
after.
Dawson.
Yeah.
I don't think
a lot of people knew
away.
Red Dread from being like one of the residents at the iconic Sona, the big after-hour club. That was like the Studio 54.
Okay, now you're talking my
Montreal.
language.
So Red Dread
was the shit.
Dread.
So now hold on. I used to sit on a speaker and trip out on ecstasy by myself in there.
So that was Red Dread on a Saturday.
No, like I literally, I had some great nights that weren't by myself, but like a lot of times,
everyone had great nights at Sona.
Every night was a great night at Sona.
Wow.
That was a beautiful place.
That was a beautiful time, a beautiful place.
I just passed there just the other day, and I'm like, oh my God, it's really gone now.
Yeah.
Now that was really gone.
Could never be duplicated. It was a time of like all-time high corruption in the city. Everything was tolerated. It was insanity.
One of the first after hours in the world, people.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was popping. every night that it was open. Thursday nights, remember open bar? There
Had
was
the
a
bar
bar.
upstairs.
There was a Sona bar.
Till 3.
Till
It shut down
3?
3 and
This is
everybody goes downstairs.
before they shut it off.
Bro,
like,
yeah.
bar,
till
I remember
3
this whole thing.
o'clock.
Okay, go. You go
You
first.
can
I have
order
stories now. Go.
a tray of 50 rum and cokes. You give the bartender, you know, a buck a drink, whatever you want.
Man, I wish I
as a
remembered his
tip.
name. He was one of the best bartenders in the city, too.
Yes. I know who you're talking about. He was great.
He was like the
I had
Tom
a-
Cruise of cocktail.
I had a little kerfuffle with him once, but then we recovered.
Yeah. He was the best.
I pulled a very.
He was the best. He was the best.
On him. But then again, he shouldn't have fed me 100 rum and coke.
Right. If you overserve,
Right,
you get
he
an overserve.
overserved the kid. I was hyperactive as it was.
Right.
They were all for you.
I mean, I drank a lot of them. And keep in mind, you know, everyone in the crew were alcoholics. So you had Ray, my producer, who also was a DJ at Sona. You had Dredd. You know, he might have came through a couple times too with us, even when he wasn't playing.
We didn't include the pre-drinking.
Oh my God. Hold up. So we'd put the Mickey in the crate of records, which I would be in charge of smuggling in to get in. Oh, don't worry, you don't have to be on the guest list. Just put your hand on the crate. Then like a brat, I drop it as soon as we get in. Carry your own records.
Those were from death stairs, though.
Right, the death stairs with the heavy. So we had the blue recycling bins full of records, heavy as a sack of bricks.
Metal stairs were dangerous when they were
So
wet.
we would put the Mickey in. We secure the Mickey in the booth.
Yeah.
Then we go up to the bar
Yeah.
and we start ordering trays of drinks, never ending. Then you're so drunk you can't see. And then you go back into the devil's lair, into the subterrane that's Sona.
Good
Right.
time.
And the ceiling's dripping.
Every misfit
times.
character.
Ugh.
You know, doesn't matter the nationality, doesn't matter the scene you're in, doesn't matter if you're a street dude or a square, if you're a regular chick or a stripper.
It was utopia.
Everyone's there at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's Studio 54.
Crazy.
And there's 700 people at the door,
Waiting.
no lineup, and they're pointing.
They're
That's
picking
it.
you
That's
out.
They're pointing
And you
like
better have 3 girls with you for
Yeah.
every guy. Otherwise,
five rows at the back, red baseball hat, you're good. No one you're with else is coming in.
right. That's what they used to do. They used to separate groups.
Yeah, they were
the thing is, no one
terrorizing.
could complain because, like, oh fuck, okay, maybe
I'm
we're
gonna
next. Maybe we're next. Maybe
And
we're
it was
next.
so ill to
Some
get
could be
in.
there all night and never get in.
Right.
Yo, exactly. And it was so ill to get in that I don't even think people's friends were mad if you got in. They're like, bro, I gotta go.
It's like, oh, yo, go.
Exactly.
Tell them to point me out.
Exactly. And
How was it
You bring back some
yeah,
shit right
it
now.
was
I
crazy,
forgot.
bro. It was really some surreal shit. And I remember the first time I went, I was 14 years old. And I went because Ray and them and Red Dread were DJing.
Right.
So the homies got me in, and I was like, oh, fuck.
When did it start? When, like, 'cause
Sona?
Sona started a couple years before that. Like I was too young to go when it first. This is maybe two years.
I
into the club.
started Sona in, I think, 99.
99.
And I think it was open maybe 2-3 years before that.
So yeah, this is around 99. What I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This
I
is
see.
my-
I had no idea it was that long.
I remember it started in 99. When did Princess Diana die?
Wow. That's
it
how you're
98?
gonna remember Sona?
Because I remember where.
Oh,
these
shit.
are points of like where I remember where I was. So I know-
Historical. It's like when
Exactly.
Kennedy got shot. Our parents have that
'cause
one, right?
I was in Sona hearing that news. I'm like, oh shit. So
Uh,
I think it was 98, 97, 98.
I could fact
98,
check.
99.
I could fact check.
I would,
say-
I would
99.
probably say 97 it started
I
because
know it
I
was
would have
soon
been
before the millennium.
97 it
2000.
started because I was too young to go in 97.
Right.
99 is probably when I first went. It was I've been hearing about it.
Yeah.
And you probably were DJing around the same time when I
Yeah, so
when
it
I
had to be
first went.
98, 99.
I remember I went there and I knew I had no business being in a nightclub at 5 a.m. And I knew my moms would be fucking pissed. And then I was just like, rogue. I'm like, I'm not going home.
Because that was way before there was no such thing as social media.
Yo, I'm like,
So
I'm not
anything
going
you
home.
heard about Sona, it's like, whoa, did you do a lot of drugs in there?
Yeah.
But nobody even knew,
It was the
Unless you were
craziest
there.
shit.
right?
It was a fucking London style phone booth in the middle of the club, not like you could
there was
hear.
a fucking cage in the back.
Oh, it was crazy. Any walk of life, if you were around at that time, everybody ends up there. It didn't matter the walk of life. I mean, it was just, it was unparalleled. And by the way, not to cut you guys off, but I'd like definitely for the audience to chime in, anybody who's tuning in, Definitely feel free to drop your
If you've been to Sona,
best
talk about
Sona
it.
story in the comments. If you've been to Sona, if you heard crazy things at Sona, we'd love to hear your stories.
Every time I DJ, though, I have like, as soon as I start, all the weed heads showed up. So there's a little spot right next to the turntables. Big Mo, everybody had their grinders.
Yeah. I was there with Big Mo. We were
everybody
there.
had a different pile, and then they'll like mix it up, like, roll the shit. Yo,
It was crazy, man. That was a great time.
Damn, I wish I took pictures.
Well, you didn't have a phone with a camera.
Yeah,
But we had the disposable.
Had a flip phone,
disposables.
green text.
But back then it was kind of like a no to like take pictures. You know what I mean? You look like a groupie trying to take too many pictures.
You're right.
Back
The
then,
mind state was different.
And that would lend the mystique to the clubs. And nobody was taking pictures in
True,
there.
exactly.
You're just there to have fun.
And you wanted to go there to see what's popping
And
inside.
you could play anything in there.
I remember D12.
Anything popped off.
I remember
in there.
D12 being there, just like hanging out.
Yeah.
There was one night I was there. D12's there, and it's like Proof's like just chilling in the club.
One night I actually was the one who took Proof out. That might have been me who
Really?
brought him there.
I probably saw you that night and didn't know who you were.
Yep.
Like, I probably owned your album.
I took
and
Proof,
didn't even
I
recognize.
took
like,
Proof in
that's how off
D12
I was
out
at the time.
twice. Once it was after the Anger Management tour when Limp Bizkit and M were performing.
Right.
M was there.
I took all
once.
exactly. I took all the D12
I think
to sessions on
He
Crescent.
came there earlier though. Eminem was there when it was like he was
When
doing
he first
Yeah.
came
like
out.
he did like French like high like gymnasium or something.
Yeah.
I went to that show.
Oh, University of Montreal.
Université de Montréal.
Ricky brought him.
Ricky brought him for that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That show, I did more ecstasy. I liked ecstasy at the time. And what ended up happening, I was wearing a Gerald Wilkins jersey.
Oh,
and,
shit.
And I'm like in like the second row. I'm all fucked up, and like he's fucking the blow up doll of Christina, and it's like it's a party, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is some dude tries to like take the shirt off my back as I'm like partying. And I'm like, no, that's not happening. Like he literally tried to jack my shirt from me.
That's hip hop. That's hip hop.
Oh, it was funny.
That's a hip hop story. That's a hip hop story.
I did like that. That was a my kind of hip hop.
Sometimes they try and take your jersey right off your back.
He's like, hold on. Let me just.
Université de Montréal, Eminem, like literally just dropped his album. It's like his 8th spot. Like after dropping the album is Montreal. We got lucky on that one.
Yeah.
And he did a show, I think, like 2 local acts opened up, and they were both French, and it was like literally like 1,700 people. You know, like 3,000 maybe max. Like it was like a small ass venue in a hockey arena, and you get Eminem like fresh off an album release. It was the special one.
That was dope.
Speaking of that, from your perspective, being part of most of these major shows, what were some of the standout craziest shows that you were part of or that you witnessed? You know, there's stories of boot camp getting chased.
Oh yeah,
Right.
I was there.
There's stories of Ice Cube getting chased.
Well, actually, boot camp was getting chased. They were just.
There was a little.
Ice Cube.
A little
Chased
situation.
in Montreal?
They didn't get their money. It was boot camp. That was with all of them. Boot camp, Helter Skelter, Black Moon, and OGC.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big show. Everybody's waiting for them to come out, but they didn't get their money yet.
A very
So
early
then everybody
Montreal
started to
move.
riot in there, right? So by,
Montreal ride for anything.
so by the time they're rioting, then you see boot camp showing up and they're standing on the stage like, damn, what's going on? Like, come on, dude. You know what's going on. And at that time, Red Jet was DJing. So when the time was going on, he was running out of records. It's like he couldn't play anything else. So there was one point, I'm standing there watching him, and he ducks to get pull out a vinyl. And a bottle flew right over his head.
Ooh.
It didn't break because it was like a curtain. So like how it hit and fell,
Yeah.
it didn't break. And he even knows, like, dude, get off of there. Get off. Get off of there. What's going on? It was crazy.
Was there an Ice Cube story?
Nah.
You remember
I seen
hearing
him
that?
I seen him once, but I never DJed for that one.
The only time I know he showed up was the Snoop. Snoop had a bigger tour. No, wasn't Ice Cube on that one? Like WC and those guys. No, that wasn't us.
I went to that. That was a Lynch Mob. I remember the Lynch Mob show.
Okay, I could
It was
be off
him,
on that.
WC, Mac 10. No, not Mac 10. What's his name? Who was original in the Lynch Mob before he had to do the jail thing?
talking
There's
about.
one guy like original lynch mob. He had to do like 43 years or some shit. Did some robbery. You know what I'm talking about. If you see the face, that's when he first left NWA, the lynch mob, the first lynch mob.
Right.
Yeah.
Steady B?
Like
No.
He's recording in New
Steady
York.
He was robbing banks too, though.
Yeah. There was a lynch mob. There was a group called Lynch Mob.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
Or whatever. I think my favorite show was Tribe. It was Tribe, Outkast before they were Outkast. Tribe, Outkast, and there was one other group.
Were you at
De La Soul.
Were you at Smoking Groove's Tribe, Fuji's, and Cypress Hill?
Yep.
That was a great show.
I seen
that
fucking joint that
throwing
fucking
joints.
B-Real had.
That shit
Whoa.
was crazy.
I wasn't at that. I heard stories. I was young.
I was there in the front row with TFS. That was a great hip hop moment. Were you at
Was it Gangstar on that too?
No, they were on the year before, the year after.
Yeah.
I remember they were on Smoking Grooves, but not that year.
I
What about,
remember that.
Redman, Method Man, DMX. That was a big one that came here. That was like the
And Jay-Z.
and Jay-Z. Yeah, the Rock.
I was there.
Mic tour.
I was there.
I seen that.
I was there.
That was
That
dope.
was incredible.
I think that was like the first big rap show that I saw at the Bell Center, where it was
wow.
like.
Yeah.
And I remember like one of my buddies was sitting down, and I'm like, you don't sit for this ever. Like, he said he didn't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That shit was that was definitely a magical time. Very inspirational.
That late '90s, early 2000s vibe that we grew up on.
That
I mean,
was 95?
No,
96?
97 maybe.
No, yeah, 90, 98, 99, something like that.
97, 98.
Because I remember like when Jay was on and he was doing the oldest shit, like Reasonable Doubt shit, and we're all rapping the words, and everybody's like, what song is this?
And when that 1 in a million,
Yeah.
the do-rag got,
Yeah.
woo,
It was crazy.
that shit
That
was
was
crazy.
crazy.
That shit was crazy. So moving along.
okay, I was gonna say, Sane, best show you've ever DJ'd.
Tribe.
Because
Tribe,
you said favorites,
Outkast.
your favorites. I'm saying most live, most hype, like where you just like you went home and like you can't sleep for hours.
As in concert, or
Yeah.
you mean like
No,
club?
you actually being the DJ. What was like the most live moment at a concert?
Concert.
Man.
Not a bad one. Like 7.2 on 10 question.
Raekwon.
Ooh, okay.
Raekwon was the best one.
And
Reason why is
yeah,
that
please.
his DJ couldn't make it, and I had to be his DJ too. So I was just running through Rule Records, whatever we got. That's the thing. The first time people heard Wu Gambino.
That's sick.
Yeah, that was dope.
Around
was
the Cuban links.
Did his stuff, and then he started putting some Wu records.
Wow, that's dope.
And that's the first
That's
time I played
really
Wu
sick, man.
Gambino.
That's a
And
moment.
that was some dope shit.
That's a moment.
And he was spitting their verses. It was
For
dope.
those who aren't familiar with Sane, who might be watching in other cities, personally, the reason I wanted Sane to be my DJ is because I had never seen a better party rocker locally. Like
Thanks.
Sane goes the extra mile in terms of, he switches the records really fast. A lot of DJs are lazy. They put 2 verses of the record, they blend it, they mix it, chicka play that. The speed at which Sane was switching records and the vibe that he was creating and generating
I had to entertain. Like,
was super entertaining.
if you hear the music at home, it's one way to hear it. But if you're coming out to hear it, I'm going to present it to you a different way.
Hell yeah, he would do like a Biggie versus Pac set, I remember, and then the best of Biggie, but like not even a verse. Like the intro, then the next,
bam, bam, and then play one song,
and then the Pac comes, and then then he'd do the same shit with a Bob Marley set at the end, and the vibe is just like you're just like putty by the end when you're.
By
there,
that time,
you know
I was looking up to Kid Capri, Jazzy Jeff,
your inspirations. Tell us about
Flex.
Blue?
Nah.
No. Blue made some mixtapes. Okay, I'm off. Really?
No.
Ouch.
Club-wise, nah. Mixtapes, I have all his mixtapes.
I'm talking about
Okay,
Sane.
fair.
To play in the party,
Sane is a real
me
party
and Clue are
rocker.
the same age, so I don't think I was. Yeah, I wasn't listening to Clue.
To be a
I've heard Clue
mixtape
in the
DJ
party,
is
like,
one
maybe
thing.
twice.
To be a mixtape DJ is one thing. Yes, Clue got great features, great collaborations.
But I was always going to New York and getting Hot 97. At that time, Flex was the man. He still
I
is the
always
man.
thought Flex like was off for some reason. Like he like fucked with the artists almost. Like he'd almost like
Back then?
His style was always weird to me for some reason. I don't know why, but like I felt like even when he did like a live something, like it would always felt like it was a bit off. No?
Maybe. I don't know.
I got a weird vibe from Flex.
I only see him live once. But everything else was like
I'm
off the radio.
talking internet
like,
solely, like from what I've seen, and it's like he's almost like fucking with the artist, like.
That's lately now, yeah.
And
he's generating likes and he's trolling.
The BPMs are like, you know.
Yeah.
But back then, you have to understand that there was nobody like Flex. The Clues took their cue from Flex.
Yeah.
Flex was the first radio personality, outspoken guy, screaming on the records, breaking the records, doing original joints, doing what he laid the blueprint for the Khaled's and then the
reason
Clues.
why it's called a Flex Bomb.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, Sane was, I would always say, the closest to a Flex in terms of being that guy, which is why I wanted him to bring our live show to a next level, right? Because, you know, he was capable of whipping the crowd up before I even got on, and Beyond held his own. So I felt like we were a powerhouse always.
Even when we did the Guru tour, that was crazy.
Yeah. And then when Guru was like, okay, you know, Preem's not going to come on this tour. It's just going to be solo. I'm going to fucking bring you as my main guy to back me up. I was like, yo,
Thanks, Keith.
I want my DJ to DJ for us. I would be more comfortable. And then he was like, is he dope? And I'm like, bruh.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I'm like, he's more than dope. I'm like, he's got this.
You would ask me like, okay, you do this. Okay. I'm like, all right. Just like the way you say like, I want you to be DJ. I'm like, all right.
So he'd be like, yo, what's up with your man?
He was still skeptical. He was like, yo, are you sure he could do this? Like, yeah.
I'm like, bro. I'm like,
the show was at Aria.
Yeah.
That was the first show at Aria.
Here in Montreal.
New Year's.
I had already toured a lot in the States with Guru, but this was our first coming back to Canada, and we were going to do an entire tour in Canada, starting with Aria in Montreal.
And
that was
Aria
nuts.
was an after hours at the time?
Yeah.
Right? There was like 3 or 4 after hours. I don't know if I hit that one.
Sona was the first, and then Aria and Red Light. I think Red Light came after.
Red Light was in
Red Light
else.
Aria.
That was Laval. I remember
Yeah.
going there. I didn't like that vibe.
But then Aria
different.
kind of took the reins as Sona faded out.
Yeah.
And then Aria became the number one place for guys like Tiesto on the electronic side, and then like Kid Capri. Like there's almost nobody we didn't have on the hip hop
I
side.
always remember at Sona, and I never like saw her. Mistress Barbara. I heard that name like 40 times.
I never saw her either.
Right?
She was upstairs.
She was upstairs, and they were like, everyone, that was a big deal, Mistress Barbara, and I'm just like, all right, like.
They had the dopest DJ booth upstairs.
Oh my God, bro! They had a VIP
going
in
and
the
then a
DJ
separate
booth
room in the back. The fuck, plates of fucking fruit and shit. We got shit all, man. In the hip-hop
But
room.
yo, you know what I used to do? I was a little weasel. I used to let all these guys enjoy the hip hop and say, "Yeah, I'll be gone, guys." I come back 2 hours later. I snuck into that, bro. There was a VIP where the DJ booth, but through the DJ booth there was a secret room on top that nobody even knew about.
Dope.
So we had many a wild parties happening in there. That was no holds barred. I come back 2-3 hours later. We say, "Yo, I thought you left." I said, "Oh no, I just went to the bathroom." Because I didn't want to fuck up my flex. I had a magic rabbit hole that I found in the club, and I wasn't letting nobody into that motherfucker. Oh, that shit was crazy.
Ridiculous. So, like, we could talk about some. This episode is pretty much Sona at this point. Like, we forgot about Montreal hip hop. It's like,
oh fuck,
no, hold on. This was talking about the real Montreal scene.
But no one was performing there. It was you go there afterwards to get fucked up. Like,
Raekwon performed.
No, they had a lot of shows at Sona.
I've never seen it perform.
Raekwon performed there once in the house room.
Cardinal did a great show back in the day. They were doing smaller like club gigs, more like a tunnel kind of.
This is before the after hours thing started, right?
No, as after hours Sona.
No,
but I'm saying like the time wise.
The show would be in the house room.
Oh yes,
right?
yes.
So it'd have to be before.
Yes. Oh, I thought you meant era-wise. Was it before?
No. I'm saying like actual rooms.
Yes, they did shows, but I think Aria really took the reins once Sona started fading. Aria came with that budget, and I was the guy booking a lot of the hip hop.
Yeah.
Right, so that's how I got my feet wet as a promoter in a serious way.
I didn't know you promoted like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was booking all the hip hop special events, most of them, anyways. Every New Year's was us, and that's when I started bringing Royce the 5'9", Guru,
I remember that.
Afu, Kid Capri. We did Nas, Beatnuts, and Tony Touch for Swirl. And Sane was usually part of the events just by being Sane. And
that was
then
the longest fucking night ever.
But those were crazy parties.
Olympic Stadium.
Olympic Stadium, yeah.
Olympic Stadium.
Yeah.
Swirl. For Swirl? Yeah.
Nas, Beat Nuts, Tony Touch, myself, Sane.
Aiden had to take a nap before the fucking show.
It was insanity.
And I had to go to Kristen the next day, drunk.
It was insanity. I still have pictures from that.
Thank God I wasn't the Godfather, because I was falling asleep at the
I think our producer / director might have a scanned picture from that party, so maybe
Serious?
we'll try and flash it. Yeah, I scanned through. Actually, I have a picture, a dope picture of you and Guru that I have to give to you too. That I found.
Yeah, I gotta see that.
But all that to say, great times. So in continuing with Sane's career, so you get your feet wet.
We got 10 minutes. He's got a meeting to go to.
You start playing everywhere. How did you see the scene evolve? What's changed from?
Hold on. We left out like my whole part of like me being a part of Montreal hip hop. I want to talk a little bit.
Please, I thought we were trying to wrap it up. Let's go.
Like there was an era where I was a part of it, and I will say a part of it. Like I was.
Well, you've been a part of it since the beginning, from the sounds of how long you were at every. I think he was like the Waldo. He was the Where's Waldo of the hip hop scene. He was there, but we didn't know him.
I was creeping. I wasn't friends with anybody. I was just like,
heard but not seen.
Seen but not heard.
No,
because you said Waldo. You don't see him.
True.
I was speaking to you guys off camera about Don Carnage and like the studio.
Yeah.
So like that's where like my in started, and I remember bringing in Full Course, and when Full Course came in, he said to me something along the lines of like, don't try to do too much, don't try to like overextend yourself. Do one thing, stick to one thing, and I couldn't do it. I'm like, I'm running a studio. I wanna book shows. I wanna.
But you gotta
be
find
manager.
You want to do it, or you just needed to keep busy?
No, I saw this opportunity to be a part of something,
and you were passionate
about
it.
I'm like, fuck, I gotta do this now.
Right.
So I wanted to do everything, and then I realized like, okay, I need to make money, so I'm gonna stick on the show side of things.
Right.
I'm gonna make these shows, and I don't know if you remember West is Major.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's me.
Oh, okay.
That's me, and that's my claim to fame, Montreal hip hop. Like we brought.
You heard it here first.
We brought the hood out.
Right.
Like every like borough in the city was fucking with us at that point.
Right.
And it's because the cops weren't coming there. And
Right.
I'd get calls in the morning from the owner of Bourbon, and he'd be like, "There's like 300 Heineken bottles in my parking lot, and I don't serve Heinekens." He's like, "What's going on?" They were bringing out, like, no joke, like 200, 300 people that were just in the parking lot, like as if it's like Houston, Texas.
Damn.
You know what I mean? Like.
This was Bourbon North?
Bourbon West. On Sources.
Oh, okay, because that was a Bourbon North.
It was a wild time. Like, and we had Boy Blue first show ever, Eye Blast first show ever. Like, there was some big guys that like are players to this day who they had their first show at the West is Major. Bad News Brown.
Would rest in peace.
Rest in peace would come to the shows. He never performed.
Right.
But Dutch, rest in peace. Like,
Right.
This was an era where like shit was popping, and
huge.
everyone everyone was friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone was buddies with each other. It was a weird time where like, you know, Burgundy fucked with
when everybody's around and working together.
It was special, man. It was really special. Rest in peace, Dutch. Rest in peace, Bad News. That would have continued if those tragedies didn't happen. Obviously.
Who are you checking from the younger cats coming up?
I like K-Goons.
Hold on. Can I ask one thing? Were you at the show when K-Goon and Noriega?
No, I wasn't there. I heard about it like same night.
That was special.
Same night.
That was a special one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off.
Because that's okay. K-Goons is like one dude. Like I think that's the only artist, Montreal artist. If I'm in a club, people are requesting his song.
That he's actually getting that traction in the club.
Like that traction. Like, do you have K-Goons?
Mm-hmm.
You have 100 bands? Can you play 100 bands?
That's
Can
great.
you play 100 bands?
That's
Can you play
great.
100 bands? I'm like, damn. All right. And let's keep running. And then I finally met him and like, yo, just give me everything you got. Like whatever you get.
The whole bag.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
it's good.
He's a great artist. He's a good artist.
Right?
Who else
He
are you
just needs to
checking
get a
for?
There's a French artist, K-Bands. Mags is still doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mags has a project.
Yeah, coming out.
Right? Mags got a project. We did a photo shoot recently with him.
Right.
Shout out Mags.
Speng Squire.
Mm.
He's
Shout out to
pretty
Durwork.
dope.
Shout out to Durwork. Speng Squires just dropped a new project. It's hard.
Yeah?
It's like, kick a rap. And good for Durwork for having like a next generation guy that's like still relevant.
The new
like,
generation is pretty good. It's
Shout
pretty
out to
damn
Dirt.
Speng Squire.
Absolutely.
And you really like that, Bless? Because that's real rap. That's not filters and
we have some
auto-tune.
mutual friends that have played me a couple joints.
Yeah, he's
Absolutely.
really
even Cardi shouts him out like he sees. He knows the scene out here.
Nice.
Another dude, Ricky J. He's a Haitian artist. He was on his way, kind of, but then he had to fall back a bit when Lajon Slim.
Oh, yes.
He got locked up, that's who he was rolling with.
He was messing with
those
guys.
So
nice.
But
who else?
Scene's looking vibrant. It's looking good these days.
Well, listen, there's no reason that the scene should not keep progressing, especially with all the tools that we have now. Social media makes the world a lot smaller.
Like Toronto's obviously our we're the little brother at this point. But like you look at Toronto and what's going on there. I mean, that's a first class city.
Montreal's always been
platinum artists. Like we need one gold artist, just one.
Well, guys, let's not forget, man. K-Tranada came out of here. A-Track came out of here. There's a lot of people doing a lot of big things.
Dude,
but
we sold some records back.
We pretend to we tend to forget because a lot of these guys leave. And they have to leave because unfortunately Montreal lacks infrastructure. And that's something that I always talk to everybody about. Every time I hear about a new artist, a new producer, a new DJ doing their thing, I always say, hey, listen, no one person can carry a whole movement on their back. In order for a scene to bubble, it's about a movement. It's about everybody
working together.
Exactly. And that's why Toronto's winning.
Expand the brand.
That's right. And that's why Toronto's winning. Yes, Drake was the first and is definitely, pretty much one of the biggest. But then you got Weeknd, Party Next Door, Tory Lanez, Magic Jordan, dozens of producers. Do you know what I mean? And then,
just for Drake, where he's at right now, it set the tone for everybody to look at Toronto. It's like, okay, who else is in Toronto?
Exactly. And a lot of people made it because that light came. But it's not just Drake. There's dozens of people in Drake's camp that make a lot of the
machine
moves.
behind him.
And he spawned so many people's careers. Like I have a lot of producer friends that I worked with early in the game that because of Drake were able to get that light on them, and they're doing fantastic, and they deserve to do fantastic because they were dope pre-Drake. You know what I mean? I worked with them because they were talented. But sometimes it just takes one project to shine a light. And when that happens, we as a scene have to remember to support each other, to put each other up because we can all benefit from it. And actually, partially, this show, that's why I wanted to be part of this project, was to create a legit platform for everybody in the city to come on, talk their shit, tell their story, and create a community around a scene that's been vibrant for a long time but has been looked over because people don't work together.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
I think that's what lacks in the city.
We both understand that, and that is definitely one of the main reasons I wanted one of the first episodes to feature you, because you've been a staple forever. You've been a guy who's helped a lot of people. You've been a guy who was always had your ears and eyes open, checking to support people. So, shout out to you and thank you so much for coming on, my brother.
No problem.
And we're going to keep this vibe going. We're going to keep this discussion going.
We're going to shut off the cameras, but we're going to keep talking. We got things to talk about.
And everybody out there, don't be shy. Drop your comments below. Let us know what you want to see more of. Let us know who you want to see coming up on here.
Let me know. Me.
We're here. We're here to
show your face.
That was like a cheap plug.
Show your face.
We're here to give a voice to Montreal. We're here to give a platform to Canadian hip hop. And shout out my co-hostess with the mostest, Let Me Know. Shout out my brother Kwite Sane, the legendary. Of course, I'm your boy Bless. This is the moment of truth.
Represent one time on the M.I.C.